Good news for Netflix subscribers. You're going to get NFL action on your favorite streaming service. Bad news for just about everybody else is you need yet another subscription to watch your favorite NFL teams. We're going to talk about that and more on this episode of Locked On NFL.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, everybody, to this Friday episode of Locked On NFL, your daily podcast covering the National Football League, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day every day. Don't forget that you can subscribe for free on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this podcast. I'm David Harrison. My co-host on Fridays is Tony Wiggins. We are both on Twitter. You can find Tony at Talking Shop Wig. You can find me at D Harrison 82, both of us credential members of the media. Tony's covering the Jacksonville Jaguars as he has been doing for over 16 years. I'm covering the Washington Commanders, my third year covering the Washington Commanders, but you know what? I'm still pretty good at this. I don't have 16 years like Tony does, but I've got a good amount of experience under my belt. He's the host of Locked On Jags. I'm hosting Locked On Commanders. Of course, we are both here for you on Fridays for Locked On NFL. Locked On NFL is here for you Monday through Friday, along with our everydayers and everydayers. You know, we appreciate your support for the show, for the network, and for today's episode, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers, you get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. On today's episode, we are going to talk about the New York Giants. Big effort, big intentions, giant uniform mistake. We are going to talk about the New York Giants' new uniform. We're going to talk about the NFL schedule. It came out, but we've already known who all the opponents were going to be for months now. So why does the scheduling event actually get as much traction as it does? Why does it matter as much as it does to us? We'll talk about that, but we're going to start this thing off, Tony, with Netflix. So let's count the ways here. If you want to watch so it used to be, if you want to watch every NFL game, you need NFL Sunday Ticket, which already forced you to buy a DirecTV subscription. Now it's YouTube TV. Now you got to have YouTube TV if you want NFL Sunday Ticket. But guess what? If you got YouTube TV, if you got an NFL Sunday Ticket, you still don't get the Thursday night games unless you buy an Amazon subscription. You still don't get the handful of games that Peacock gets to stream on their platform unless you got a Peacock subscription. Well, now, Tony, the NFL has struck a deal with Netflix. Netflix is going to get a 2024 Christmas Day doubleheader exclusively available for Netflix subscribers. Here's the pitch. At no extra cost to Netflix subscribers. So again, if you're a Netflix subscriber already, you're good. You're golden. You don't got to worry about a thing. But if you're not a Netflix subscriber, like me, I don't watch nothing on Netflix. I got Hulu. I got Peacock. I do have Amazon. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to get Netflix because it's a business expense for me because they cover this game. But if you don't cover this game, it's not a business expense for you. The Pittsburgh Steelers, so if you're a Steelers fan, they're going to host the Kansas City Chiefs. Who doesn't want to see the defending Super Bowl champions? You got to watch. If you want to watch that game, you got to do it on Netflix, and you got to get a Netflix subscription. Tony.
Yeah.
So someone put out a tweet, man. I want to see if I can find it while you talk about this. I'm going to find this tweet of how much it costs now to watch every actual football game in the NFL. But what are your thoughts about all the streaming services getting in on the NFL action?
I thought the NFL was crazy when they first did it because I'm thinking about how much money they make in concessions, right? And so the thing that I've been wondering about this the whole time was, and the NFL is so smart. Let me tell you how smart they are. I was like, look, they want folks to come to the games in the heat. Now, this is me coming from Florida talking, and you have experienced this also. In the heat, if you're in the state of Florida, if you're in a lot of places, it's scorching hot all the way up to November, right? And I know that's foreign to a lot of people, but you want folks to come to the game. It's something I brought up when I used to do sports radio, terrestrial radio. I said, is it Blockbuster? How can you sell the same thing over and over again to a whole bunch of different people? You know what I mean? You remember the old video stores that used to be on every other corner, and Wayne Huizenga made a whole bunch of money by selling the same thing over and over to people. Not like bread. I'm talking about the actual item. Like mostly some people are too young. The actual DVD. You get it today, you pay me for it, you bring it back, somebody else borrows it tomorrow. Well, the NFL's kind of doing that with football games. And I'm thinking like, why would you make the game so attractive to someone, let's say, who wants to get up at 10 o'clock or 10:30, light his grill, take $40 worth of meat, $20 worth of sides, a couple of 12 packs and a bottle of Jack Daniels, or whatever it is you're drinking, run you $120 and you can take care of 6 people. Why would you offer people the ability to do that, sit in the air conditioner, watch an 86-inch TV, and not miss a thing when you need people to come to the stadium? Well, here's the answer. Because eventually what we're going to do is we're going to fragment these games off so much to where the people that want to stay home are going to want to stay home, and the people that run these streaming services are going to give us our money. So we got our bread. We ain't worried about nothing else, right? We're going to do that so much that you need all of these streaming services. You're going to realize it's cheaper for you to take your butt to the stadium. And they're not talking about 40,000 people. They're talking about 1,000 of you jokers that stay home all the time and say, and trust me, I've been in situations and conversations in the barbershop where dudes have told me, man, it's easier for me. It's cheaper for me to stay home instead of buying 4 tickets for me and my family, spending another $300 on concessions and trying to keep warm and braving all of the traffic. You know, I save $700-800 every weekend during football season, right? So hear me out here. I think the NFL said, okay, y'all want to stream. We're going to break this thing up into a whole bunch of different streams. And eventually, people are going to be paying $300 a month just to watch their favorite football game. You might as well just go to the stadium. So the NFL is going to get their money from the streaming services, and now they're going to get their money from the people. I think that's what's going to happen. Eventually, folks are just going to say, well, I was staying home because it was cheaper, but if I'm going to spend all this money, I might as well go hang out with my friends.
I mean, honestly, that's the only way to kill it. That's the only way this continued development of streaming services getting NFL games is going to die, is if fans stop watching on the streaming services, take your butt to the stadium, watch the game there, and you're really not showing the NFL anything, right? It's kind of like, okay, you want to prove us wrong, come to our house and give us your money directly, and we get the biggest cut that way. And so really that's the only answer. But at the end of the day, Wig, like, they also know we live in a transient society. Like we live in it. Like, how many people actually live where they grew up? How many people actually live where they were born? There's still a good amount of people, but not everybody. I would say most of the population doesn't live where they were actually born. So if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan living in Florida, guess what? Do you want to pay $7 for 1 month of Netflix to watch that game on Christmas? Mm-hmm. The individual person, sit back and say, you know what? I'll pay $7 to watch this one game. Does it suck? Yeah, it sucks, but I'm going to do it because I'm a diehard fan. $7. You're going to pay $7 for 1 month to watch the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're a Chiefs fan and you're watching them pursue a 3rd straight Super Bowl, first NFL team to ever do it, you want to be able to say, I watched every single game of that historic season where they won that 3rd straight ring that nobody else has ever won. You're going to pay $7, one-time charge, $7? Yeah. And what Netflix is hoping is you're going to be that guy like me that's going to forget about it. You're going to watch that game on Christmas. You're going to delete Netflix from your phone, your tablet, your TV, your PlayStation, whatever it is, and then you're going to forget about it until the next month, and then there's another $7 charge. Then you're going to remember, I got to cancel it. Then when you go to cancel, what is Netflix going to say? All right, thanks. We'll cancel it for the next billing cycle. So they just got $14 out of you. If they get $14 out of 100,000 of you, guess what? That's why they're doing this. Works. They paid the NFL over $100 million to get a one-day doubleheader, Wig. That is how much money Netflix is expecting to make back from this. So this is
in advertising, in not only subscription, but I guarantee you in advertising. I bet you they probably already got it back in advertising, or they're close to it.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. But here's the good people. This is on a Fox News website. I don't know if they did the math or if they're quoting somebody else. I'm not going to read this whole thing. But here's basically the breakdown of this. Here are the monthly fees for streaming services that show NFL games. Netflix, $6.99 a month. ESPN Plus, $10.99 a month. Prime Video, $8.99 a month. Peacock, $5.99 a month. YouTube TV subscribers, $72.99 a month. And then if you want NFL Sunday Ticket, $349 a month. If you want access to every single NFL game that gets played this season, you have to pay over $800. That is insanity. And it's not even done, Wig. It's already been dealt. Fox Corporation is announcing a partnership with media titans Disney and Warner Brothers Discovery. They're going to create a new sports streaming platform that is going to include ESPN, ESPN2, ABC, Fox, FS1, FS2, Big Ten Network, TNT, TBS, and True TV. So if then all those are going to be over there. And I promise you an exclusive game is coming to that platform. So the streaming thing is not going away. Unfortunately for me, I don't know. I'm not angry about it. I think it just kind of, I have this conversation with fans all the time. They're like, nah, the NFL cares about this. The NFL cares about this. Ladies and gentlemen, the NFL does not care about anything but the bottom line. And they are the richest business in America. They are making money. They don't care if you, Steelers fan, miss one game because you don't want that Netflix subscription. They don't care. Chiefs fan miss that one game. They don't care. They just don't care.
And they don't care about your little fantasy football team if you don't see every little game either.
I care. And I love this game. That's why I do what I do. So I try not to get jaded by it. And I care if all of you out there, if you're playing these fantasy sports, if you're making some money. I also care if you're participating in FanDuel, if you're making some money. So let's hear a message from our friends over at FanDuel before we get into these NFL schedule discussions coming up next here on Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And just like that, I'm here to tell you about today's sponsor, and that is FanDuel. It is winner take all in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 ticket. Now, it's not football season yet. It's all about basketball. There is no load management. It's all about the NHL. Those dudes never take a night off. You can count on everybody playing. But just in case you need to find out who's banged up, read up on FanDuel. They have all the information for you about the game that you're about to bet on, and you can make you a bunch of money. $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, and player props. If you have a $5 winning bet, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
Thanks again for making Locked On NFL your first listen, your first view today and every day. Thanks for coming through like you do. Come back on Monday. Kevin Ostreicher of Locked On Ravens will be back with the biggest stories going on around the NFL with some of your local hosts of Locked On, chiming in on those stories. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your television or your devices all day? Realize you got to turn down the volume when all that shouting starts, and a lot of that shouting is for no darn good reason. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all of the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Tony Wiggins, David Harrison back here with you on this Friday episode of Locked On NFL. Just got done talking about streaming services. The NFL continuing to give exclusive rights to streaming services for one game here, 2 games there, 16 games over here for Amazon Prime. The last thing I'll say about a Wig is I at least hope that some of these streaming services, because I don't think Peacock has done it yet. Maybe Netflix is going to do it. At least with Amazon every Thursday night, at least they give you something extra. Like you don't have to listen to the Amazon Prime View or whatever, but if you do, you get the 22 angle, you get some of the analytics, you get all those things. Sam Schwartzstein comes in every once in a while and kind of breaks down some of the analytics for you, trying to make you a little bit smarter as a football fan. So at least if you're paying for Amazon Prime to watch these games, you're getting something that you don't get from these other services, right? Mm-hmm. Hopefully some of these other streaming services at least do that. At least give the people something extra that changes the product a little bit to justify the expense, right? That's all I'm saying, people.
Right.
Just do it a little bit different, right? But let's talk about NFL scheduling, Wig, because this is something you wanted to talk about, and I'm really interested to hear what you got to say. We have known who every NFL team is going to play since January, right? Mm-hmm. Bottom line is the NFL's got a rotating schedule. Every division plays another division, one full division in the NFC, one full division in the AFC, and then you got these other teams where you play, if they finish in the same place you do in their division, you play them, so on and so forth. So we figure out who everybody's going to play the next season by the end of this season. In fact, I actually just wrote this for CommanderGameDay.com. I can tell you all of the Washington Commanders opponents for 2025, except for 3. There's only 3 teams that they're going to play in 2025 that I can't tell you right now who they are. And I'll know those by the time we get just past New Year's, I'll know who those teams are. So why does it matter when the schedule comes out in May? Why do we go crazy? There's 4 episodes this week, Wig, just on schedules. Last week, you and I did a schedule preview episode. 5 episodes of Locked On NFL have been dedicated to the schedule release. Why?
Well, we say we like to make people smarter. At least some of us, that's what we try to do, right? Everybody has their own style, and I try to do that all the time. With this, though, this isn't me being a teacher and being self-righteous and pointing a finger at anybody. What this is this is a we moment. I'm speaking French now, right? This is us. Why do we do that? Because we do it. You just said it. We talked about it last week, and we've done shows all week about scheduling. Here's why we do it. Because our team has changed since the end of last year. Not only has our team changed, but the opponents that we're going to play and the narratives surrounding them have changed since free agency and since the draft. Here's what else has changed. Because of the draft and because of free agency, as long as the fans don't have Stockholm syndrome from being bad for so long that they won't ever believe that they're good, everybody is on the train of optimism right now, right? Every team has done all the right things. Every single draft pick was the right one that should have been taken, and everybody feels good about themselves, right? So here's what happens. People are going to go to training camp, and the team's going to look better, and everybody's going to report that the team is all good, but they ain't playing against nobody. And then by week 3, you'll have really good teams, really bad teams, and a whole bunch of people fighting in the middle. So here's why we make a big deal out of it. Because just like when fans miss the game, or they miss the first half because they're in traffic, or there was a car accident, or you're sitting on the runway for too long, or whatever, and you find out your team is down 20-7, you know, the first thing you think, it wouldn't have been happening if I would have been watching it, right? They would have been losing if I was watching that game. And the same thing goes with the schedule and the order. There's a difference of knowing who they're going to play and knowing the order in which they're going to play them. That makes all the difference to you, because some people do their schedule and plan their trips. Some folks like me sit and try to wonder what the cumulative effect is going to be of, for instance, the Jaguars starting the season with 4 playoff teams, 3 on the road. Then by week 7, they're going to London for 2 weeks straight. And then every time they have a winnable game against a team that has a brand new quarterback who's a rookie, or a team that's rebuilding, they got a humdinger the very next week against someone really good. So here's what can happen to the Jaguar season. If you don't see me, I'm doing a roller coaster going up and down. It is going to tell a story about this team. And there are going to be a whole bunch of other teams too. You know who's not worried about order of the games? The Chiefs. They don't care they don't care who they play, when they play them, where you going to play at, what you wearing, what your mama doing, what you ate last week. They don't care. They're going to smack you upside your head. You know who doesn't care? Baltimore. They don't care. You know why? Because they're good, man. They ain't worried about you. They ain't worried about the weather. They ain't worried about nothing. But you know who is worried about the order of the games? Jaguar fans. Because
Washington Commanders.
That's right. Because everything has to kind of go the way you want it to go. And just like if the game is on, you need to be watching it to make sure your team wins. Well, you need to know who they're going to play for you to sit here and think you're going to help them. You ain't going to help them people. Those people going to do what they're going to do, whether you're there or not, or whether you know what order it happens. But it does give us a chance to try to give an idea of where these narratives are going to form, where the potholes in the season are. Last week, I said, we won't know how good this team is until they play the 49ers in week 12. And it was the game. The Jaguars went in there 11-3, and after they lost it, they ended up 9-8. They went 1-5 or 1-5 down the stretch. You know why? Because that game told everybody, including Jacksonville, who they really, really were.
Who they really were. Yep. Look, man, context matters. That's why the schedule release matters. Like you said, similar to the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Commanders don't have 3 playoff teams, but they do have the Buccaneers who made the playoffs, the Cincinnati Bengals, who are certainly a playoff team with Joe Burrow, and 3 road games to start their season. But then week 5 to week 14, the Washington Commanders have 6 home games and a bye week. Their 3 road games from week 6 to week 14 are at Baltimore, which is about an hour drive from the Washington Commanders practice facility, at the New York Giants, which is about a 4-hour drive from the Washington Commanders practice facility, and at the Philadelphia Eagles, which is about a 3-hour drive from the Washington Commanders practice facility. So from week 1 to 4, they have 3 road games, one of them to Arizona, right? So that's a long trip. But from week 5 to 14, the longest trip they have to take is 4 hours up the road, and they're going to fly. I drive, so they're going to fly. So that context matters. So if the Washington Commanders making a little bit of noise this year, that's why. Is because they have a really good travel schedule, even though a lot of those teams, I mean, you got the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Steelers, the Bears, who might be a little bit better, the Baltimore Ravens. There's a lot of heavy hitters in there, but that travel fatigue is not going to be an impact on the Commanders. So certainly that's why the release of the schedule matters. The NFL is very good at creating storylines and very good at creating stories out of nothing, but I think the schedule release does matter because of the context, like you mentioned, and like I try to follow up there. What also matters is if you are a Giants fan and you can only go to one game this year, you are praying that they're not going to wear these dog ugly uniforms that they revealed on Thursday. Wig and I are going to have some fun at the New York Giants expense coming up next on Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Passion. We just showed that. Drive. Patience. Some of y'all got to have patience with your team. All of those things are the formula for winning a championship in football, but it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED, headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed or power or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Motors Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers.
Wrapping up today's episode of Locked On NFL. Thank you again for making Locked On NFL your first listener, your first view today and every day. Tony Wiggins and I are going to wrap up this episode of Locked On NFL. Wrap up the week here. The New York Giants wig, they've been teasing it. They've been priming it. They've been hyping it. Finally on Thursday, they revealed it. A throwback heritage uniform. It just looks ugly, man. I know not everybody out there can see, so I'm going to do my best to describe what it is we're looking at. If you haven't seen it already, find any Giant social media account there, plug in the heck out of this thing. What they did is they went ahead and they mashed up, and I'm sure they're not the only team to ever do this, but they mashed up a bunch of old uniform items. They got 1925 pants and socks, which are basically tan, skin tone, whatever you want to call it. 1938 helmet, which is the same helmet design that the Michigan Wolverines have, the Delaware, whatever they are, in the FBS. Helmets with red and blue Giants colors, but it's that Wolverine, that Michigan Wolverine style helmet, and 1933 jerseys, which is basically all red with a big thick blue stripe around the midsection with the number, block letter number. The thing just looks bad, Wig. It's just a bad idea all around. What was your first impression of this uniform? Well, the thing that got me was when I first saw it, it reminded me of, remember you were in the military, we were in the military, we were going out, we hanging out, we got a weekend pass, so we've been on duty and we're going to do it, man. We're going to party, we're going to turn this little speakeasy upside down in one of these little towns we in, right? And then you go pick up the last guy and he walks out of the door and all y'all look at each other like, what in the hell does he have on? Why is it? Yeah. And you get to the car, you go, hey man, you ain't wearing that, are you? That's the cue that you got some BS on. You need to go in there and change your clothes because the pants were the same color as those stockings my auntie, and not my mom's sister, my grandmother's sister. Those stockings she used to wear, you just kind of fall down and ball up around her ankle. That's the color those pants are, right? And it looked like they went to buy them some uniforms, and they had no more uniforms, and all they had was just some clothes that nobody ever bought. But guess what they had? They had 53 of them. And the Giants go, yeah, we'll just take those. We'll take the little lumberjack outfit. And you got some hats you can wear too. Yeah, give me those hard hats over there. It just looked like they just having a bad wardrobe day. And I really, really think that there needs to be somebody in that building that looked around and go, nah, man, we cannot do this. I've seen some bad ones. Pittsburgh has some that look like they are Pittsburgh has two different shades of yellow, in fact. In the shirt and the pants is totally different. And they look like bees, but they look like bees that are in prison on a chain gang, right? Washington has some terrible ones too. Okay. If there's one I like, I would say Pittsburgh. I would say Pittsburgh, Green Bay, because their uniforms are kind of throwbacks, but they got ugly ones too, right? Yeah. Definitely. I think my favorite throwback of them all, it might be the OG Eagles uniforms.
Because the 49ers haven't changed. I like the OG Eagles. And really, I'm biased, but I like the original Jaguar uniforms too. The ones from, not the first ones, but I think it was the second ones they did early in the 2000s. When Fred Taylor was there, I think they're going to bring those back. But I'm a classic uniform dude. I always thought the San Francisco 49ers, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Raiders had the best uniforms, though.
I do like the Dallas Cowboys throwbacks, like the white ones with the white helmet and the blue star. Like, I like those throwback uniforms. My biggest problem with this Giants uniform, man, like the jersey, I get it. It's like old timey. Okay. The helmet with the Michigan logo, the Michigan design on it. I got it. Like, whatever. The pants. There was an Olympic team. I can't remember what they did, but it was a women's Olympic team. There was a track team that wore the same color pants, and everybody talked about it. If you got the wrong skin tone, it's going to look like you're naked from the waist down. And then these players sweat, man. Like these pants better be made of the right material, because if these pants are not made of the right material, when these guys start sweating, it's going to look like they pissed themselves. That's what it's going to look like on that field. It look like they all just wet themselves. Maybe nobody will want to tackle them. I'm actually secretly hoping, Wig, that they wear this when the Commanders visit them this season, because I want to see these things in person. I remember when the Chicago Bears came out with their construction worker bright orange throwbacks, or not throwbacks, alternate uniforms, and everybody was criticizing that. I was like, man, I hope they wear that when they play Washington. They did. And those highlighter orange uniforms were just as disgusting in person as they were in the photos. So I personally want to see these things in person. So I hope they wear them when the Commanders play there. I'll say two of my favorite throwbacks, actually, and this is going to be ironic given the highlighter comment I just made about the Bears alternate uniforms, because alternate uniforms is one thing. Throwbacks are another one. I like the throwback uniforms that can only exist as throwback uniforms. I'm talking Buccaneers creamsicles and the Denver Broncos. You remember that bright orange throwback uniform they got with the ugly white Bronco on the helmet? That thing is so disgusting. But as a throwback, once in a while, it's cool. I like it. I like when they break that out. The creamsicle Buccaneers uniform, I like when they break that out once every 4 or 5 years. And every time, Wig, the Buccaneers creamsicles come out, fans have this conversation. They just need to go back to the creamsicles. No, they don't. No, they don't. That is a hideous uniform, but it's amazing as a once in a while uniform. So those are some of my favorite throwbacks. Giants, hey man, I applaud the effort. I see what you were trying to do. It didn't go. You're going to have to deal with it anyway. They're going to wear it twice this year, at least twice this year. I hope they only wear it twice this year, but I hope one of those times I'm there so I can see it. But yeah, man, I like those old Jags uniforms too, with the full Jaguar on there.
On the side, with the stripes on the pants,
those too.
I'll tell you what I really, really do like, but it's not even really considered a throwback anymore because they've used them as their regular uniforms. The Chargers powder blue jersey with the white pants. That to me, and the white helmet. That is the sharpest uniform in all of sports. But they went to those navy with the yellow trim with the white pants for a long, long, long time. That goes back to I think Chuck Muncie and them. They probably had the yellow pants on, but they had the dark shirts. So the light blue, the powder blue, that was like Lance Allworth and those guys. They brought those things back, and now they wear them as their regular uniform. So it almost doesn't really count. The only difference is sometimes I think they do still wear the yellow pants, but
I think so.
Though the powder blue with the white tops and with the white helmets and the white pants, to me is the sharpest uniform in all of sports, regardless of sports. But it's not really classified as a throwback anymore, so I have to go with Eagles. I would say 49ers. I don't like the 49ers alternate. I like the 49ers regular uniform with their red jerseys, the gold. I like the traditional. I like the Cowboys, and I like the Raiders traditional uniforms.
Yep. And I do like the Commanders, the old throwback with the spear on the helmet. I do like that one. I do like the spear on the helmet. I'm an old Warwick Dunn fan, though. I'm not a Florida State fan, but I am an old Warwick Dunn fan. So I always have kind of a little bit of affinity for that Seminole uniform just because I'm a Warwick Dunn fan. So maybe that's why. But I do like that spear on the old Washington Commanders helmet if they ever bring that back. And I like the whiteouts, the alternate Bengals uniform, the all white alternate Bengals uniform. Cool. I do like that. I think that looks clean too. So some uniform conversation, some schedule conversation, and some streaming conversation. A little bit of everything today on Locked On NFL. Make sure you come back on Monday. Kevin Ostreicher of Locked On Ravens will be back with a whole new episode. So make sure you're subscribed, get those notifications turned on for your second listen of the day. Check out Locked On Jags, Locked On Commanders, or stay right here and we'll kick you on over to Locked On Sports Today, the first ever 24/7 sports streaming channel on YouTube. As always, thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day every day. Tony Wiggins, I'm David Harrison. Until we see you again next week, if you're out about, please be safe, be kind. We'll see you next time for another episode of Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.